Welcome to the Rachel's English Podcast. I'm so glad to have you listening. This is coming to you from Philadelphia, PA, from our son's closet because we think it's the best place in the room to record. I'm here with my husband, David.
Hey, everybody.
And today we're going to be discussing vowels. If you can't understand everything we're saying or you just want a copy of the transcript, you can get one absolutely free. Please visit rachelsenglish.com/podcast. Okay, guys, I've been looking forward to taping this podcast for a while because I think it's always fun to discuss something that's technically related to English pronunciation that, your average native speaker would know nothing about with my husband, David, because he is your average native speaker. He has not studied English or teaching English or English pronunciation or any of that.
Truth.
So this should be interesting. Okay, to start off, David, how would you define vowels? What would you say a vowel is?
I would say that a vowel, they're the most important letters. That's what I would say.
Okay.
I don't know what I would say. They're the vowels.
Okay, so your definition of a vowel is the most important letter, comma, the vowel.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good. A rule of thumb is you do not define a word by having that same word
All right.
definition.
All right. Vowels, they make the important sounds, the most important sounds in the word that link the consonants together.
Okay. I want to go back quickly and just point out an idiom I used, which was rule of thumb, which is the way something is generally done.
Right.
A rule of thumb is you don't use a word in a definition for that word.
Right.
Okay, so you modified it a bit. You talked about sounds. You talked about consonants. Well, let's get down to it. So there are a couple interesting things about vowels. Well, one of them is there are vowel letters in American English. What are they, David?
A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y.
That's exactly right. And then there are vowel sounds. What are they, David? Yeah, it's harder, right?
You want me to say the sound?
Well, I guess the point I'm making is every native speaker could tell you the vowel letters, mostly because we've all watched Wheel of Fortune.
Right.
But when you ask a native speaker about the vowel sounds, they can name some, but they usually can't tell you how many there are off the top of their head, for example.
How many are there?
11. Off the top of your head, another idiom I just used, which means without needing to really think about it. Okay, so before I tell you what the vowels are, I would love to see if you can tell me what the vowels are.
So I'm trying to find 11 different sounds.
Don't worry about the number. You're not going to get there anyway.
Oh. Challenge. All right, here goes. For the letter A, there would be a long A sound.
Give me a word example, please.
Lane.
That's a diphthong. So that's not a vowel. That does not count in this category.
What?
Exactly. We'll get to that later. Keep going.
And a short A, what I learned to call a short A is a, like bath. Is that a letter?
Yep, that is a letter.
Is it a sound? Is it a vowel?
And it is a sound. And it is a vowel. You have a score of 1 for the a sound in bath.
And as in ball, or as in ball.
Father, I call that the as in father vowel. Yep.
Okay, then for E, you would have the E sound, like beef. Is that a vowel?
That's a vowel.
Sound?
That is a vowel sound.
Why is that not a diphthong? Well, you said you'll get to that.
I'll get to that.
Also for E, you would have like tech.
I call that the as in bed.
Okay.
Yep, that's another vowel.
For I, you would have I as in is.
I
or
call
the
that
I sound like pile.
Yep, that's a diphthong, so we won't count that. So a diphthong is a change in mouth position. It's two different vowel sounds that glide together in one unit. So like you said, pile, I. There's a beginning position where you have jaw drop and an ending position where your tongue is arching a little bit up to the roof of the mouth. I, which is different from ah, like in father, where you don't move your mouth. There's just the one position.
So there's 11 vowel sounds. How many diphthongs?
Diphthongs. Well,
Diphthongs.
that's up for debate. It depends on who you ask. 5 or 6. Some
Okay.
people would say a few more than that.
Okay. Then there's O.
Okay, wait. I lost count. I think you were at 5.
Okay. O has aw, like on.
Mm-hmm.
It also has O, alone.
Okay, that's a diphthong.
Oh, I didn't move my mouth.
Well, but you're also pronouncing
Alone.
it funny. Alone.
All right.
Rounding of lips.
And then U would be as in the word up.
Yep. Great. 7th vowel.
Unity. Is that a diphthong?
Yep.
Then I don't know how Y becomes a vowel. Y is like pile.
Yeah, it's like my. It's like the I diphthong. Okay, so you came up with 7 vowels. So I just, as someone who thinks about vowels constantly, and, the non-native speakers out there have to think about them too, not constantly, but as they're learning them. How crazy is it that you, a native speaker of 40 plus years, could only come up with like about half of the vowels that you're using on a regular basis? Native speakers just do not pay attention to their language. They don't need to. They don't have to. It's no big deal that they don't. I just find it really interesting that you're using something so masterfully and having really no idea how it breaks down. Okay.
So what did I miss?
Hold on. Before we get there, I wanted to ask you if you can think of any vowels or particular words that non-native speakers mispronounce, words that you think you've heard mispronounced.
So the only one that I'm thinking of a specific time where someone was trying to say the word successful and it came out more like successful, like it was
The syllable stress was wrong.
misstressed.
Okay, so the word is successful. And how are they saying it?
They were
successful.
Right.
They were stressing the first syllable.
Right. And it took me a while to figure out literally what they were saying.
Yeah.
And then once I knew, I was like, oh, right, that totally makes sense that you just barely mispronounced it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just barely in one sense. On the other hand, I did not know what they were saying.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes the wrong stress is harder to understand than the wrong sounds.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, I'm thinking there are lots of sounds, obviously, that I've noticed students mess up. One of the main ones is the I vowel, like in sit. People don't have it. They make a tighter sound like seat. That's pretty common. I mean, actually, most people are coming from languages that don't have 11 vowels plus diphthongs. So they're coming from languages that have fewer of those kinds of sounds. And so generally there are several American sounds that are missing from any one student's accent that they then have to learn and work on and figure out and train. It's all about the muscle memory.
So is that because we are, as English speakers, the language is an amalgamation of a bunch of different things? I mean, why do we have more sounds than, as you know, the language that I know best other than English is Spanish. And I talk about this all the time, that one letter equals one sound, and it's great. But So how did English get all these sounds?
I'm not a historian and I'm not an expert in the development of the English language, but I do think that you're right that it is related to so many words coming from different backgrounds into English.
Okay.
And actually, that I also think is responsible in part for the insanity that is the spelling of English.
Yeah.
And that's actually one thing that we're going to get into some here. David, your mind is going to be blown out of the water, and I cannot wait to see it.
Okay.
So let's go to David's question. What are the vowel sounds in American English anyway? Okay, I'm going to start with one that you did come up with. It's the ah sound, like in father.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I said that spelling is pretty challenging. And I always tell people, letters and sounds don't match up perfectly. So we have this sound ah. Can you guess how many different ways we spell that in American English?
So father, that one.
Yep, like that's the letter A. The letter
Father.
A. Mm-hmm.
Bother.
Okay, so that's an O.
O.
Mm-hmm.
Father. Bother. Father. I don't think of any other ways. I'm not
Yeah.
thinking of other.
Yeah. So there are actually 5 ways that we spell this in English. We spell the aw vowel with the letter O, like you said, in body, with the letter A, like we said in father. Also with the letters EA, like in heart.
That one's unfair.
Heart.
That's so impossible to know if you're someone who is coming to English from reading primarily.
Oh, forget it.
How would you not say heart?
Right, because EA is pronounced lots of different ways, not just aw. Okay, I said it was pronounced 5 ways. There are 2 left. The 2 are not very common at all, but it does exist. The double A, like in the word bazaar, Harper's Bazaar. The double A there, not at all a common occurrence, but is pronounced as aw. And then also the word sergeant. Sergeant. We have the aw vowel, but it's spelled with the single letter E. That's a hard word to spell. Here, I spelled it. Look at it. Sergeant.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would like to know where that word comes from.
I actually thought that sergeant was SAE. I knew there was an AE combo in there somewhere. But I wonder if my brain put it at the beginning because that sound is so weird.
It looks like it should be pronounced surgeant.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to say a couple more words with the sound block. Job, product, wash, sock. The ah vowel. Okay, now here's one that you did not come up with. Okay. And you're not to blame. You might not have come up with it because you don't actually use it. There's another vowel that's very similar to the ah as in father vowel, but it's actually the aw as in law vowel. Now, if you think of the word father and you think of the word law, do you think same sound or different?
Now that I'm listening to you do it, I hear it.
Yeah. Most people out there probably don't, and that's okay. A lot of students can't hear the difference. I don't think I really use the aw as in law vowel. So there are places in America, I've heard particularly in the West, where this vowel has just been dropped and it's always just replaced with the ah as in father. So rather than law, it would be law. And that sounds pretty normal. And I think I kind of do that. Now, Tom Kelly, who you know has worked with Rachel's English for a long time, he has a really strong aw, very well-defined aw. And I think it's partly because he grew up on the East Coast. Or he didn't, but his parents did.
What might he say where that would show up?
Like law, caught, aw. And when you look at him when he does it, he has that shape where the cheeks are coming in a little bit and the lips are flaring some.
Okay.
But it's a stronger sound on the East Coast for sure than it is elsewhere in the country. But the sound in law also has 5 different spellings. It can be just an A, like in fall. I've noticed that when it is followed by the L consonant, when the letter A is followed by L, then it's this vowel.
Ball.
Right. Ball. Rather than ball, which would be the ahs and father. Right. Although it's not that strange if I said, hey, where's Stoney's soccer ball? You probably wouldn't think, wait, she's saying that weird.
I think, yeah, it sounds like when we're going quickly, when we're speaking quickly, the aw takes an extra beat sort of to get the whole sound out.
You're saying the aw as in law takes you longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stoney, go grab your ball. We'll go to the park.
Well, that was just very fast altogether.
Altogether unhelpful. Altogether.
Altogether. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about this as far as speed. I don't think it's related to speed personally.
Okay.
I think some people, it's a bit of a regional accent. You either have a strong aw and your lips really round and your cheeks come in a little bit, aw, or everything's more relaxed. Ah, ah, and it's a little more open feeling. But we're talking about aw, like in law, and I said it had 5 spellings. The letter A, like in fall, AU, like in cause,
Mm-hmm.
cause and effect. AUGH,
Mm.
daughter,
Caught.
daw, caught. Saw, AW,
Mm-hmm.
OUGH, thought.
Mm.
And that's it. Those are the 5 spellings.
Okay.
But if you're listening out there and you're thinking, I'm having a hard time telling the difference between these 2 vowels, don't worry about it at all. David, I want to talk about the symbol, the IPA symbol, just because a lot of my users use the International Phonetic Alphabet. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So the ah as in father is a little lowercase a, and the aw as in law is like the letter O with the left side erased. It's like a backward C. So, as I said, 5 spellings, a few other words with the sound awful, belong, dog, wrong. I said that I noticed when the letter A was followed by L that it was usually the sound. I also noticed when the letter O is followed by NG, it's this sound. Belong, wrong.
Gong.
Were you half yawning when you said that?
No, I was half laughing. Remember the Gong show?
I never saw it, but I've heard the cultural reference many times.
There was a show where they were performers, and anytime that someone had gone on too long or was no longer being well received, they banged on this big gong.
Do you feel like banging on the gong right now?
I was gonging the AW vowel sound.
Okay.
Yes.
David's ready to move on, folks. Okay. You did come up with this sound, the ah sound.
Yes. Cat.
Cat, yes. I'm just going to tell you how many spellings there are because you're never going to be able to guess these. It's just too hard.
Okay.
So there are 4 spellings for this. We have just the letter A, like in the word exact. There it is, the letter A, and it is the A as in bat vowel. Then we have AI in the word plaid, spelled AI. Like, who knows that? I totally would misspell that word all the time. The word ant. Now, okay, this is tricky. So I'm talking about AUNT, like
yes.
aunt and uncle. And when the A vowel here in bat is followed by N, it kind of changes. It's not a pure vowel, but it is still the A vowel. It's just shifted. Ant. So here AU making the A vowel. Earlier we saw that AU also makes the law vowel, like in the word cause. So you see AU, don't think you know how to pronounce it. There are multiple ways. Okay, and finally, it's a very rare spelling. Actually, I can only think of one word where the letter I makes the A vowel, and it's in the word timbre. Do you know that word?
I know that word. I can sort of place it in musical, technical.
Yeah.
Isn't it the quality of voice?
Yeah, the quality of the sound.
Quality of the sound.
Yeah, right. It's like if a flute played a certain note and a violin played the same note and a singer sang the same note. It's what makes all of them sound different. It's the quality.
Mm-hmm.
That's spelled Timbre, and it's pronounced timbre.
And there is no earthly way that should not be pronounced timber.
Right.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Some other words with this sound: act, apple, crash,
Pass, task, matter.
Yeah. The IPA symbol for this is an A and an E squished together.
Oh, I've seen that.
Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite symbols. Okay, moving on. The next vowel, the E vowel, like in she. Now, this is a vowel that you were able to identify.
And it doesn't seem fair because the other sounds that are the name of the letter you diphthonged me on.
Wait, what?
Like, I was like, I
Right.
is a vowel.
Yeah,
Sound.
right. And letter.
Right. So the names of the letters, I feel like, should all get to count as vowel sounds.
Yeah, right. Like
Seems
the letter
unfair
A.
to them.
Like the letter A, but it's not a vowel, it's an A diphthong.
Right. They're
Yeah.
a whole letter. They should get to count as a sound.
Yeah. No, you have to mentally break the connection between letters and sounds. That is of primary importance when you are studying American English.
It really is. And I would have never thought about that before.
No. Except when you failed your spelling test.
I won the spelling bee at my school.
I do not believe that.
I'm a great speller.
You are?
I'm a good speller. Why do you think I'm a bad speller?
No, I don't think you're a bad speller. I just think spelling is somewhat difficult. Therefore, you must not have been good at it.
Are you saying that it's hard for you, so you assume that I'm bad at it?
I'm actually a good speller. So I don't know why I'm giving you such a hard time.
Ridiculous.
I know. I apologize. Okay. Actually, the reason why I didn't believe you is because I've never met anyone before who won a spelling bee.
Oh, I definitely dominated the 6th grade spelling bee. I didn't dominate. I won.
So did you then go on
Went
to
to the
like,
regional
you
spelling
did?
bee. Mm-hmm.
How'd that go?
Not that well.
Yeah. It's funny how spelling bee is kind of a big deal in the U.S.
Yeah, there's a national spelling bee.
I mean, there was a musical.
There's an awesome documentary about it.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've seen that, but I've heard about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We should watch it.
Netflix it tonight.
All right.
But yeah, there's also a musical, like the Great Putnam County Spelling Bee.
I didn't know that.
That was really popular for a while. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder how many other countries have spelling bees because a lot of other languages are phonetic. There is a direct relationship between letter and sound. Therefore, it would never be a challenge to spell.
Interesting.
But
yeah.
It's a huge challenge in American English.
Yep.
For sure.
And the people who end up winning the National Spelling Bee are people who memorize the spelling of words that we never use.
Crazy words.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that is what they spend a lot of their time doing. Is they train for the spelling bee. They study the spelling of crazy words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd rather be outside personally.
Absolutely.
Though I'm not knocking anybody who invests their time in their passion, whatever it is. Okay, so as we were saying, the E as in she vowel, did I ask you how many spellings you think there are?
No. Well, can't that just be what can be EE?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
As in sheet?
Mm-hmm.
It can just be I.
Like in what word?
Don't
look at my notes. Don't look at my notes.
I'm not. Okay, I'm sure I can think of that. It can be EI as in believe.
Mm-hmm.
Could be IE as in relieve. No, that's still EI.
I before E except after C is the rule for spelling with I and E.
After V. Before V and after C.
It's just after C is the rule. V isn't part of the rule.
Before V. No?
I've never heard that.
All right.
So spelling in English is so hard we have to come up with chants to help us remember. Okay, so there are 10 spellings of this vowel.
All right, hit me.
10, guys. Well, you got some of them. There's just the plain old letter E, like in the word be. To be or not to be. B-E, the letter E makes the E as in she vowel. Then there's E-A, like in the word heat. This is different from, if we added an R there, heart, then it changes the vowel.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's E-A, heat. E-A can make the E sound. Double E, you came up with this. You gave the example of the word sheet. I'm giving the example of the word weep. Then we have both EI and IE. So EI like in the word receive and IE like in the word brief. We have EO, the word people. Yeah.
Good one.
I mean, it's such a common word, but it's the only EO spelling that I know of that makes this sound. But I mean, you can see how a kid is going to take the word people and write P-I-P-L.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's P-E-O-P-L-E. Okay, what other spellings? The E-Y spelling, like in the word key. And then you said just the letter I, you were sure would be a way to spell it, but you couldn't come up with a word.
Right.
Police.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There, it's the single letter I making the E vowel. An obvious one you forgot, the ending letter Y in so many words. Pretty, busy, quickly. Unstressed, E there at the end. Okay, and now this is an interesting word, not very common. The word key, spelled Q-U-A-Y.
What?
Q-U-A-Y.
Uh-huh.
The primary pronunciation is key, but you may have heard K or quay.
What is that?
It's a body of water. It's like an inlet. You've never heard this word before?
No, I think of the Florida Keys, which
Yeah.
are a string of islands.
Yeah.
Spelled K-E-Y.
Right, K-E-Y. But then the word can also be spelled Q-U-A-Y, and it's a different word with a different meaning.
That's a new word for me.
So you've never heard the word quay or K?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Because those are also pronunciations of the word. They're just not as used. Not as used. Okay, another vowel. The I vowel. I put E and I together because E is really common in a lot of languages, and I is not very common at all. And so a lot of people, when they're learning English, they don't try I. They just make E all the time because it's familiar to them. It's very common to substitute in a familiar sound rather than learning a new one. And then the other big problem that people have is they can't hear the difference. Does that surprise you? E, I.
Those, to my ear, are extremely different.
Yeah. I remember when I first started teaching and I was starting to learn what people couldn't understand, what people thought sounded the same. And I was also really surprised at some of the things. A lot of people think ah and sound the same. Yeah. I know, very surprising to me. But, you know, of course, you're a native speaker. You grow up understanding the differentiation completely.
Mm-hmm.
But E and I are two sounds that a lot of people have problems with. The I vowel in particular, making that different. So for the I vowel, like in sit, there are 9 different ways to spell this vowel.
Wow.
The letter A, like in the word private. Yeah, who would think that the letter A would represent the I vowel? The letter E, like in the word pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty. The double E, like in the word been. Hey, David, how have you been?
Yep, that's the same sound.
The letter I, like in the word him. It can be spelled UI, like in the word build. It can be spelled with the letter O. You would have never guessed that the I sound could be spelled with the letter O, would have you?
Mm-mm.
In the word women, plural of woman. Women. It can be spelled with the letter U, like in the word busy.
That is unbelievable.
All these different spellings.
For one sound.
I know. It by the way, this is 9. It's not. It doesn't win for most spellings.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, where are we? The letter Y, like in the word symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes when you're looking at letters, it's hard to say, okay, which ones should be assigned to which sound. But the word foreign is spelled E-I-G.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also totally crazy. How'd that G get in there? That's a consonant. Okay, so those are our 9 spellings. Private, pretty, been, him, build, women, busy, symbol, foreign. And here's one more word for you. Big.
Big.
Yeah, I just wanted to make 10 words. So I had to add one more.
I didn't understand.
Wow. Okay, so we've completed 5 vowels. There are 6 more plus some other things to say. David, I don't know about you, But I'm afraid someone's going to want to be hitting the gong and ending this podcast. I'm afraid that this is starting to become too much information for one podcast. What do you say we wrap this, take a break, come back, and make a second episode of Vowels, Owls, Owls.
Wow. That was new on the sound effects.
Thank
but
you.
I think that you're right. This is
Okay.
a good amount.
Okay, guys. So just sit with that. Sit with those 5 vowels. And then next week, we're going to hit you with episode 2. So be sure to tune into that. It's going to be a great episode. If you need a transcript for this episode, please visit rachelsenglish.com/podcast and look for this episode. Don't forget to tune in next week for episode 2 in this series. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, please do. You can do this on iTunes or Stitcher, and I hope you listen to every podcast. Also, if you have a moment, please go ahead and do review this podcast. I read all of the reviews, and I love to hear what people think about the Rachel's English podcast. That's it, guys. Thanks so much. Until next week.
See you later, guys.